Everybody. Yes, it's Tuesday and here we are for session number 6. I can't believe it's got this far. And today we have not just one or two, we have a wonderful host of guests today, and they are the Retired Caribbean Nurses Association, and they are nurses from Bedford. They all reside in Bedford, and they're going to be telling us some of the wonderful stories and also some of the sad stories of being a Caribbean nurse, but also what it's like to live in Bedford as well. So welcome to everybody, and also welcome to all of our new young people that are joining us today. And I would like to hand you over to Cynthia, who will be starting our session with us.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Cynthia, as Johanne has just told you, but I like to say it again, Cynthia. Thanks ever so much, Johanne, for inviting us here. We have got things that we can tell everybody. And before I say anything further, I'll call on my colleague, Johanne, to tell us something about herself.
Well, my name is Johanne, and I've been in a retired Caribbean midwife since 2011. I came to Bedford in 1972, having worked and trained as a nurse in Lincolnshire. And when I came to Bedford, I came to do my Part 2 midwifery, having done my Part 1 midwifery in Leicester at the Royal Infirmary. At that time, up to the 1980s, midwifery was done in 2 parts, Part 1 and Part 2. And the Part 2 schools were fewer than the Part 1. So you didn't do the 2 studies in the same hospitals. You tend to move on. And that's why I came to Bedford. So I came to Bedford North Wing. And there I met Cynthia. She was, at the time, I think she was a sister on the ward. And then eventually she became a midwifery tutor. And I also spent a year with Cynthia and other tutors in the teaching department of the midwifery school. Coming to Bedford, I remember when I first arrived in Bedford, I thought it was really upmarket, lovely, beautiful trees along Ashburnham Road at the time, and quite leafy. And also where the North Wing was situated, that was to me quite leafy as well. So, you know, it was quite a pleasant experience coming into Bedford. And of course, I remain in Bedford. I'm still here. I've worked outside of Bedford. I've worked in Luton and Dunstable for 10 years, but I always remain living in Bedford. So is that okay?
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Jackie, can I call on you?
You can. Right. I actually came to Bedford in 1985 because before then I was just living in nursing accommodation because I trained in Wolverhampton and then I moved around the country to see what other people are doing in other areas. I did my midwifery in 1988. And in those days, it was an 18-month journey and a very tough journey that was, because I thought nursing was bad, but midwifery, you ate, you slept, and you just only ever thought of midwifery because that's how intense the course was. But at the end of the 18 months, I still came out at the other end and I can smile about it. But it was nice because Bedford is not my hometown. I came to Bedford. I was brought up in Shropshire, trained in Wolverhampton, then came down south to Luton and Dunstable, Watford, Hemel, and then came back to Bedford to live. But I did travel to North London before I retired to do my last 3 years. I retired in 2016 And then around 2017, I had a call from a certain young lady, bless her, Vita, called me to say, would you like to join us? Come, you have to come. I'm not taking no for an answer. Bless her. So I went to see what was happening, and I then joined at that point, thinking I didn't know anything about, retired nurses or what was going on in Bedford, because I think I'm just getting used to the area because I spent a lot of the time out of it. So I didn't know what was going on till I retired. But I do like living in Bedford. I like that it's like country, because where I was brought up, it was like country, farms everywhere. You had loads of green fields, green areas. And I will never move from Bedford unless it's when I'm going in my box, because I love it so much. I don't want to move. I'm not moving. That's it.
Oh, all right. One thing you were talking about, Jackie, you said Vita told you, you got to come and join us. But you didn't say join us what?
Oh, join the RCNA to see what experience I could share with the group, because it was a group that was trying to get all Caribbean nurses together to then share our experiences out, into the community, because there's not a lot about Caribbean nurses in Bedford anyway. So there was, the group was looking at putting information about Caribbean nurses out in Bedford, because when somebody went to have a look to see what information was out there, all they had was one of those ladybird books with one page with a black nurse on it, and that was it. Nothing else. Very painful. Yeah. So yeah, it was good. I do enjoy my time with the group, because there's lots of experienced nurses sitting in our group with lots of knowledge that they can still use today and every day, because it's not in the hospital itself. Because I know I do work sometimes 2 days a week within a hospital setting, because I don't want to give it up completely yet. And I know that the training and the knowledge is not there, or not as much as when I was training anyway. It's not in depth. You're training on the job nowadays, rather than learning it, then going out into the wards and then sharing it. So I like, I see that side of things and just think, well, I'm glad I'm still got my handy, so I can do a little bit of education here, or update a few people who don't quite know why they're doing certain things and what the research behind certain issues are. So I'm still going to continue till the day I think, you know what, I've had enough now, and see how it goes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jackie. And Lucy, what are you going to tell us?
Cynthia, I'm not a Bedford nurse.
I know that.
Right.
But you're here in Bedford.
I'm here in Bedford. Right. I came to this country in 1971 and went straight up to Harrogate in Yorkshire and trained there as an SEN. And then after that, I did my SRN, because I didn't know the difference between the SEN and the SRN. But when I get to know what the SRN stand for, I decided to continue doing it. After I'd done my SRN, I went into dermatology and trained as a specialist nurse there. And I worked in dermatology for over 35 years, and then retired in 2014. But I did enjoy it.
And if you had to do it all again, would you do it?
I would. I love my work.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I hope everybody can see the thread going through everybody who has spoken. We will do it again. It was tough, but we would do it again. Adelia.
Oh, hi, Cynthia. Hello, everybody. So my name is Adelia, and I retired after 49 years working for the NHS in 2017. Like Lucy, I started off as an enrolled nurse, so I did my training from there. on the 3rd of January 1972. I'll never forget that date ever. And I started off in Birmingham because that's where I did all my schooling and that's where I grew up, in Birmingham. And all I wanted to do was become a nurse. And that's losing my grandmother before I left the Caribbean, before I was 6, because I spent my 6th birthday in England. And I'm not sure what age it was, but I do remember the day that they took my grandmother from our house, my maternal grandmother from our house, and she never came back. So I knew then what I wanted to do, and that was my competition for the essay I had to write for my entrance training as an enrolled nurse at Celiac Hospital in Birmingham. It wasn't my first choice, but like Lucy, all I wanted to do was to be a nurse. I didn't know the difference. And my mom would always say to you from I was 7, I said, Mommy, just if I have to get into a uniform for one day, I want to do that. Because I wanted to go back and look after older people so they didn't die. And then it was later on when I came to Bedford, having been married, and I went forward and did my general training. And so I've been at Bedford from about 75. And I retired from there in 2017. Yes, it was tough, the training and the things we got, because the Celiac wasn't my first choice for a hospital, but it was where I ended up, because the people were very choosy in them days. Mm-hmm. And but the training, and I met some really sweet girls from Trinidad, because they were being sent in to do the training, and they were clever girls, but they also got to do enrolled nursing at Celiac. But we all enjoyed it. And the training, like Jackie was saying, I remember some of the practical things that we were doing, they don't do that now. They don't train them that way. Mm. But like doing the aseptic technique dressing, the fun we had the day we were doing that. And I remember a girl, Sheila, she cracked me up that day when the teacher suddenly saw from the back of her head what Sheila was doing. And and I was always a giggler. So it was when I met some lovely people there, and I'm still in contact with them. And so I ended up at Bedford, and I absolutely enjoy being a nurse. And no, I wouldn't change it for anything. I would never be anything else other than a nurse. Mm-hmm. And I think I've covered everything. I can't remember what more you need, Cynthia, or what more the host of this evening.
Retired black nurse.
Thank you. No, carry on, Cynthia.
All right, okay. So that leaves me to say something about myself. Like I said at the beginning, I'm Cynthia, and I did the first bit of my nursing, my general nurse training in Southampton. And then I came to Bedford to learn to become a midwife. And there's something I want to tell you about learning to be a midwife, learning to be a general nurse and a nurse. It is, you cannot imagine how important that training is. I came to England from the Caribbean, a place called Belize. Belize is next door to Mexico and Guatemala. So lots of people don't know where Belize is, but there is Belize. And I came over to do my nurse training. I was not invited to come and do my nurse training. I came over here and my parents paid for me to come to do my nursing. And it was very, very, very interesting. I left home at 19, and having never left home before, except for Girl Guides camp. And oh yes. And we went to Mexico. We went to Mexico when I was in upper 6th to learn to speak better Spanish for a week. Going to Mexico, you went on a coach. The boundary between Mexico and Belize was a bridge. You crossed over the bridge and there you were. If anybody chased you back, you could run back over the bridge and you were in Belize. So I hadn't gone very far. So there I was, coming now to England. And one of the things about leaving home, I am the third of 7 children. So you're used to having a crowd. Those were your siblings, mother, father, and 7 of you. And I was now going to come away and I was going to leave that behind. So you feel a certain way in your chest. But my parents were encouraging for you to come. And I remember the day I was leaving, my little family was standing one side of the airport. And in those days when you left to come, you were coming to England and I was coming to study nursing. All your friends, lots of friends, you had people from the church coming there, you had people from Girl Guides, you had your own school friends coming, the neighbors are coming. So you had quite a gathering at the airport, making a lot of noise, seeing you off. And we had to walk from the airport building to the plane. You know, like when you go to Spain and you walk out to the plane, it's like that. And just as when they called out the names again, you know, please board, and I was about to leave now. And I remember my mother coming up to me and just giving me a tight hug, and just whispered in my ear, don't look back as you go towards the plane. Just keep going, don't look back. And so all my friends were saying, oh, sit there. And you're waving. And I didn't want to look back because, I mean, terrible things happen to people who look back. In the Bible, somebody turned into a pillar of salt. And I wasn't going to have any of that because I was getting on this plane to go to England. And just when I got in the plane and I felt nobody could see me, I could see my little family standing there. I could see my father being very upset, but my mother was calm and composed. And I was leaving Belize. I got on the train, no tears, nothing at all. In transit in America, then I had to get, I got a flight, BOAC, to come to England. And then from England, when I arrived in England, then I was put on a train to go to Southampton. No tears, because I was going, you know, to do this thing called nursing. And when you think back on that you're 19 years old, you're leaving your big family, security, everything, you're going to this new place, and what could happen to you? What would happen to you? But it worked out well. It worked out very well. And like my colleagues, I would do it all again. The hours were long because back in the olden days, you worked 48 hours a week. And it was just changing to 44. So you were perpetually tired. You worked, they fed you, you went to bed. You got up, you worked, they fed you, you went back to bed. So you didn't have time to complain. You just felt tired. And my first salary, the first salary I got was £10, 10 shillings and 6 pence. And I could swear that that's the same salary I had when I retired a few years ago. The salary did not go up.
Oh, lovely.
Right, so that's that.
Oh dear, I love that story. What I particularly remember is I always think about how hard it must be to leave and coming to somewhere that you don't know anybody. I mean, can anybody talk to me about that? What's it like leaving somewhere that you've known all your whole life, then coming to somewhere, well, you know, that's cold for a start. Let's start with that. The food that you're used to isn't accessible. What was that journey like for you all?
Well,
Well, I think
Johanne. Oh, somebody's speaking. Sorry.
it's Justine. Well, Joanne and other members, I think it could vary because when you're 18 years of age, like I was, and I was one of the ones invited because there was a piece in our local paper, our local Gleaner, because I was born in Jamaica. And I was at the time working in what you would call here the council, but in Jamaica it was called the civil service. And I had just left school. I left at 17. I went straight into a job. But I wanted a bit of adventure. And I saw this in the papers and I thought, oh, this is one way I could get away from from family, and I could look forward to something different, and so to me it was an adventure, so I wasn't scared or anything. Was quite happy to come, but when I arrived here I then realized that, oh, it could be a bit lonely because you didn't have your friends and people. I mean, in where I work, in the department where I work, there were many young people, and you had a social life, you went out. And then I realized when I got to the nurse's home, there were only a few Black student nurses, because I did my SRN first, and and they were from other islands, and being in Jamaica, we didn't have a diverse group of people from other islands that I knew. So of course you were a bit shy, and so that was something I had to get round and got used to. But after a while, you realize that, oh, they had similar ways of cooking. They had similar things that we shared, like music, and then you build up, a friendship. And also, I also think that when you're in an area where it's only a few of you, I found that you had a lot more people, host people were more interested to find out, you know, how you were getting on, and were you happy, you know were you getting to know Lincoln, so I found that quite helpful. And also when I did many years later, when I came to Bedford, and I came to the Bedford North Wing. I wasn't a boarder. I wasn't living in the nursing home. I was living out. But it was lovely to meet a lot more Caribbean people. And also, I wasn't used to dances and things like that in Lincoln, where at Bedford, there were always something the Caribbean nurses were doing. So that was quite good as well. So it's a mixed bag. I mean, if you talk about the wards, that's a different thing. But it was a mixed bag coming because I wasn't sort of worried about the cold. Actually, I came in I wouldn't call it a polyester sort of suit. When I arrived at Heathrow, I thought, oh, maybe I ought to have brought a cardigan, because we didn't really have talk about coats back in a hot Caribbean country, so it's, again, I'm sure other people have got other things they'd like to share, so I'll shut up.
That's lovely. Thank you, Jessie.
Adelia, you were going to say something, Adelia?
Yeah, I was going to say, Cynthia, thank you, that you talk about coming by the plane, and I told you that I was about 6 when I came to this country, but I came by a boat called the Escania, and that was 21 days on the sea. And I think no. I was just going to say, That's the best way to travel. I'm glad we didn't come with a plane. Mind you, it would have been just as exciting, I think. But the 21 days was so much fun because at the time when you were coming over, it wasn't just you, like Paul Cynthia. It wasn't just you because my auntie came back to get us. My mum and dad were over here, and my auntie came back to get her sets of children at the time, and my mom's set of children. He was my mom's sister. So here I was coming with my cousins. So I knew people on that boat, and we had such fun for the children because they had 3 o'clock matinees. But the most best thing was you got onto the smaller boat that went over to the big ship. And when you got onto the big ship at that time of the morning, it was breakfast time. And they ushered us down to the dining room below deck. And we and white tablecloths, and we had cornflakes. I had 2 bowls of cornflakes with warm milk. That was exciting. So I wasn't missing my maternal uncle who had left behind. He looked after me well, and his wife, and that much because I got the cornflakes. And when I got here, after the 21 days, which was sad to finish, it was cold in Southampton, and my mom and dad met us, and it was me and my brother, and of course, my auntie's husband met her with her children. But it was nice. It was cold. The first winter, we got chill blades. The first winter, we were all crowded around that open fire in West Brom. Oh, it was cold. But I love the cold now. Look at me, I'm sitting at home. I wouldn't have done that in 61. Wouldn't have done that then. So yeah. So so yeah. That was it. That was good for me. And as for nursing, Cynthia, you said they fed you. We had to go and do our own shopping and come back and cook. But we all used to share the kitchen, the white girls, the foreign girls, and we all just compared food. And it was real fun.
Thank you very much. So you've all ended up somehow, some way, in the beautiful town, historical lace town of Bedford. What is it about Bedford that has made you come or has made you stay? What is it about Bedford?
I want to say, this is Cynthia. I want to say how I got to Bedford. I applied to do your midwifery, as Jacine told you earlier. You only certain places did midwifery, and Bedford was one of the places that did midwifery. And of all the applications that I sent out 10 applications. All 10 came back wanting me. They wanted this girl, but I had to choose. And why did I choose Bedford? All the applications, all the responses I got were typed out. There, Miss Stewart, right? And the one from Bedford was handwritten. It was handwritten by the superintendent of midwifery, a woman called Miss Holton. And I thought, that's the one I'm going to go to.
Wow.
When you think back, you thought, suppose it was handwritten because they didn't have a typewriter. How shocked would you have been? But because it was handwritten and I came to Bedford, and in Southampton, when I was in my training school, there were 45 of us in the class, and just 2 of us were Black. Myself came from one hospital, Royal South Hants, and the other girl was at the other hospital. It's called the General Hospital, Southampton. But we mixed, we came together for school. And also we went because the General had the gynae ward, and they came to us because we had the accident and emergency and the VD wards. So we mixed, but just 2 of us. And one of the things you thought, okay, they shouldn't lose me because I'm the only one. But the one thing that happened that I look back on now, and I think, well, that was my hardship, was when you met your colleagues or anybody from the hospital and you met them outside and shopping, they looked away. They never acknowledged you. The first time it happened, the first week or so it happened, and you thought, ah. And then after a while, you caught on very quickly that they don't want anybody to know that they know you. So that was fine. And you know, it's something you can pick up pretty quickly. Because one of the things I can do quite easily is to pass somebody and not acknowledge them. Picked up that bad habit, picked it up pretty quickly. You know, just walk past them. Didn't see you.
Didn't see you.
Yes.
I have to say, I picked up on the bit when you say that the letter you received was handwritten. It wasn't a typewriter, but like now you would never receive anything that was handwritten, an acceptance that's handwritten, or even that was a product of using a typewriter, because it's computers, so it's either an email or something that's been typed up that you just print out now. It's
that's right. I would not have been accepted at all because I don't know any of that.
Yeah. And now, so we've been learning about the history of Bedford, and that one of the things that helped Bedford to thrive was that it was a lace making town. And because of the ooze that we have running through, it was ideal because it meant that we could get merchandise up and down to different parts, especially up to London, etc. And then obviously we have various industries that then started, so like the industrial industries like Meltus, Charles Wells, Rolls-Royce, not Rolls, was it Rolls-Royce were here as well? In Queen's Park, Rolls-Royce.
It was called Allen's first and then Rolls-Royce. Allen's
and then Rolls-Royce, yeah. And so we've been learning from Pauline Stepney from Nubian Teachings about the contributions of the Caribbeans to Bedford, which has been immense. What do you feel about your contribution that you've made to Bedford? And the contribution of Caribbeans that are still here and those that have passed?
Well,
go
for
on,
me,
my friend.
Adelia. Oh, Cynthia.
Go ahead.
So, Adelia, the contribution. Okay. I had a daughter at a North Wing Hospital. That's one. And I worked at Bedford Hospital, and I did a lot around the wards before I specialized, before I left my retirement. And so I think the time I put out in Bedford as a nurse, and I felt I gave 110% every day. I think that's good enough. I lived in Bedford, I don't now. So I think my nursing contribution is a good thing. Being at Bedford Hospital is my contribution to Bedford.
Okay.
It's Jacine, and I would agree with that, Adelia. I mean, I said I came into Bedford in 1972, did my midwifery. I took a break, I think, in 74, but I have done, I think my contribution is to the midwifery service, where I taught parent craft to the young mothers. I also did some work in the community, like Vita Ray, and working with Vita Ray on the community for about 18 months. I also, as a Christian, I also do community work with the church. And so I think I have brought a positive personality to Bedford. And also another reason why I came to Bedford was when I was in Leicester. having done my nurses SRN nursing training in Lincoln, which was quite a well, it's a farming community, but it's, you had the cathedral, you had, also had a prison as well. So, and that was quite a nice town. It wasn't as large as, well, obviously not as large as Leicester. And I felt when I was at Leicester doing my first part midwifery, I actually felt that the place was too large, and even in the hospitals, you didn't seem to get to know anyone. And even though there were Caribbean girls there, you didn't get to know them. And when I when I visited Bedford, because I was invited to come to Bedford by a friend, and as I said earlier on, when I came out of the old train station there, it was, those lovely trees and, and that leafy feel. And then there was the river, which in Lincoln we had the river. All those things, I thought felt more at home to me than Leicester. I mean, Leicester as a river, but, the feel of Bedford was more in keeping with what I felt in Lincoln City. And therefore, and I also love going to the river. Whenever I'm feeling a little bit on the negative side, I will go and walk along the river and look at the docks and I just love that, country feel about Bedford.
Yeah. And I suppose we'd have to talk about, I mean, my mum would have been here if she was here, because Mum, part of everything. And I think the whole point of this project is I think it's important that people understand the past, their history, heritage, the town that they live in. And for me, somebody who's a Bedfordian, born and bred, so I started off in Putney, and my mum and dad built the house that my dad still lives in when I was 3. So that was a long time ago, 44 years ago. Okay, let's put it out there, 44 years ago. And I know that my mum came over here with her brothers, of which she was the eldest, and came over to the UK after her dad had been here, and had saved up enough money so that they could find somewhere that was big enough for the family of 4 or 5 to live. And her nursing stories are, I find, just an eye-opener. But it also, I think, accentuates the what the Caribbeans have given, and the fact that they came over to the UK with trust, and wanting a better life, and also wanting to serve as well. I mean, because we have to remember that obviously in the Caribbean, their history was about British history. It wasn't about Caribbean history. So coming over here, my mum always felt that she knew England because of learning all about it in school. And an interesting thing that I think about the longevity of history is that I remember once, Alex and I were talking about, so I used to work in Yarlswood, which is a detention centre, and it's a female detention centre, and it is ladies in there from all corners of the world. And I would go in and run choir workshops, or I would run a piano workshop, and I was running a singing workshop, and I had a lovely lady, an Indian lady, came up to me, and I said, "Did you enjoy the session?" She's, "Oh yes, I enjoyed it very, very much, but next time could you bring me a song called A Nice Cup of Tea?" And I was like, "A nice cup of tea, what's that?" I had never heard of it. And A Nice Cup of Tea, I then discovered after doing a bit of Googling and looking on YouTube, is a quintessential English song from back in the 1800s. And obviously this song has been passed down because of tea, India tea, and also the British being in India. This song had been passed down, and this lady was absolutely shocked that I lived in England and didn't know this song, where for her it's part of her history. And so I find that interesting, that we all have different things that are part of our history that nobody, that might not be part of anybody else's.
Mhm.
So, you know, really, thank you so much to everybody for sharing your stories. So one other thing that we just like, so with the writing of our lyrics, that the young people are going to be doing, actually it's next week with the wonderful Alex, who is here with us today. We'll be obviously looking at people's experiences of Bedford. Have you got something that really sticks in your mind about Bedford? Something that is a memory that you'll always keep, whether it's about a particular place, like places in Bedford can spring memories. Like for the young people, the parks are important to them, like Bedford Park and obviously Queen's Park. Is there any particular places in Bedford that you think, oh yeah, it's yeah, that's a memory that you'll treasure?
And especially for women, have been not only in terms of inside the household, inside the houses.
Go ahead, ladies, go ahead.
Because children haven't
Well, I've just shared with you walking by the river, especially when the weather is beautiful. And as I said before, whenever I'm feeling a little bit, you know, down, I would go along by the river with a McDonald's sitting on a bench, you know. Yeah, it's lovely. And Priory Park is another place that is lovely to walk along, because especially if you like walking, just walk, you know, through the park. You know, anywhere there's water, I am happy.
Yeah, I love walking along the river and looking at the swans. It relaxes me. Just standing there looking at the swans swimming along.
Right.
For me, Joanne.
Yes.
For me, with Bedford, before I even came to Bedford, living in Birmingham as a youngster, I used to visit Bedford because I had family. My auntie was up down here, so we used to visit a lot. And but what I loved before I came down here was the accent. Because I used to have a bad Rummy accent, and I used to love the way my cousin spoke to me, and so for me, for Bedford, it was the accent. But other things brought me here, but I did like the accent.
That's interesting. I like that, the accent. Yeah. And that's funny about accents, isn't it? Because a lot of so our family, out of all, between my mum and my dad, we were the only ones that moved to Bedford. So everybody else was in Bristol, Birmingham, Luton, London. So I sounded completely different to all my cousins because they all had very strong accents compared to Bedford, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I had some family in Huddersfield, and when I went shopping with them, she wanted a loaf. I want a loaf, you know. I didn't like that one. I didn't like the Yorkshire sauce, but I love the Bedford accent. I mean, nowadays you won't know where people from because they've all got this kind of unique way the young people speak now. So it's going to be hard to tell where they come from in future. But yeah, I did like the Bedford. I did like the accent.
That's true. Yeah. Can't tell where people come from now. Yeah, that's
Joanne,
that's what to remember. Yes.
Can I say, because I'm not from Bedford, I live in Kempston, but you know where the bridge is that you can walk underneath from Kempston to Bedford that takes you into town.
Yes.
And they've got all those lovely boats sitting on the side, especially in the summer. That is a nice little bit of a walk to, and I used to love walking through there to get from Kempston to Bedford, especially when the kids were small, because I used to push them in their prams up there. That was my little walk, and then come back. And then when they got older, you used to come on their feet and walk down there, just so they could see the boats and the ducks and the swans, and you know, because to me that's like country. That's what you want to do. I like water, and that was to me the bit of water I can have.
Yeah.
I don't live near water, you know, and that used to be the thing for me when I first come to Bedford.
Oh, beautiful. Lovely. Thank you.
I'm going to leave because I've got another meeting.
Yes, I know. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Bye.
So can I just ask everybody else? So Mel, Bridie, Abid, Stephen and Rosemary, Rachel, Karina, anybody that's not a guest. Have you got any questions for our lovely Caribbean nurses? Oh, Mel's got.
Yeah. Can I kick off? I have got 3 questions, but they are very, very short questions. So we're not going to be here all night.
Okay.
The first thing is, with the current situation with COVID, I know one of the ladies, Jackie, said she's still working a couple of days, but have any of you who have retired considered going back into work to help out the hospitals?
That'll be a no.
No, the thing about nursing, you are on a register,
Right.
and some of us have already removed our names from the register of nurses.
Right.
So we cannot help in a nursing capacity.
Right. Okay.
Jackie obviously is still on the register. I came off the register just in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And therefore I couldn't. I would have to go as a nursing aide or something like that, and they probably wouldn't want me.
Yeah. Right.
They will think I she used to be a lecturer. She's watching.
Thank you. And the other couple of very quick things is I was interested in your Caribbean roots. I know, Cynthia, you said you were from Belize, and I think it was Jacine said she was from Jamaica. And I know Adelia's from Carriacou, but is anybody else from any of the other countries in the Caribbean?
I'm from Trinidad.
Right.
Mel, did you not pick up on the accent?
Well,
Are you joking? I'm just joking.
I have to say that I didn't travel because I was born and bred in England.
Right.
But
right.
even though my ladies had the experiences that they have had when they were training, I also had it, and I did mine back in the 80s. And to me, the experiences didn't change. It was still, what shall I say? People were getting you to do stuff that others weren't doing because you weren't good enough to do, because we all had jobs, but we always ended up with the dirty jobs, but you just got on with it because when they're saying, right, they're allocating, you already know where you're going. In advance. In the sluice. But I didn't mind because when I finished in that sluice, it was sparkling. But I still was getting my training, and at the end of the day, I was going to finish and complete that training, and no matter what they put in the way, was not going to make me leave, because I know a couple of my girls left when we were training because they just could not put up with the rubbish. They resigned and said no. Even after three months, they were leaving. I couldn't convince this young lady that started with me, because I only had 5 black nurses with me in the middle of Wolverhampton, where you thought there would be more. And one of them left because she said, I'm not putting up with it. And I says, well, I'm going to finish. Nobody, no matter what, am I leaving. I'm going to complete. And I did.
Oh, well done. Well done.
So,
and finally, very, very quickly, and I'm sure this is a quick answer. When did the Retired Caribbean Nurses group start?
It started in 2011. 11 and 9, 20? 2011.
Yeah.
2011.
Yeah.
It we had 2 years of faffing about. We you want to do it? We don't want to. What we're gonna do? No. 2 years of that, and then 2 years later we started for good.
Yeah. Good. Lovely. Thank you, ladies. Really interesting.
Can I say one
I think
thing?
what everybody else needs to know.
Sorry, Joe. When you were asking just now things that you like about Bedford and all of this, I didn't say anything. Please don't get me wrong. I just want to say how proud I feel, Cynthia feels, about being the first Black midwifery lecturer in Bedfordshire and probably in the whole country. Right? And how the seniors at the hospital were very proud of that. But I was even more proud of that because I thought, wow, that's all right. That's okay. So that's me. Finish. Boom.
Yeah. And we have to remember, Cynthia, it is people like yourself that lead the way for the next generation to be able to come through. And I definitely see that happening. That is definitely happening now, and it is due to kind of like the hard work and the dedication of all you ladies that are here on the screen at this precise moment in time, and also others out there that are the trailblazers. So, you know, from the next generation down, I think, you know, just want to say thank you, or big props, as we say in young people speak.
Props.
Yeah. Alex, did you have any questions?
No, but I wanted to comment. Did anybody see the program on Channel 4 last night?
No, I didn't see it.
Wonderful doctor talking. Did you see that program?
Yes, I did. Yes.
The one where they showed the Filipinos and how mistreated they were, and how what the upshot was that 20% of the people in the nursing or in the health industry, nursing and obviously hospitals, 20% of the people who have died from COVID are from our community. Yet we only make up 6%. The wider Black, but not even the Caribbeans, talking about Africans and Caribbeans, we make up 6% of this country's population, but 20% of the COVID deaths from people in nursing are Black. And that's because, as the lady just said before now, was it Cynthia? No, it was you were talking about how you stuck it to finish off and the others left.
That was Jackie.
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 Yes. Given the worst jobs, and they still always are. And the interesting thing is, you don't see any white doctors in these hospitals where COVID is raging.
So Alex has gone to get his guitar, and I can only say that this is a thank you to you all, what Alex is about to perform, for you rocking up on a Tuesday night on Zoom. And do you know what I find a brilliant thing about this project, which I would never have thought of before if we hadn't been in lockdown, is that we haven't used any fuel to make this happen. And I just think that's great. So it's kind of like almost like an environmentally friendly history project. So just thanks to everybody. And yes, you will all get an email about the 8th of December. Okay. And inviting you to the presentation night, of which the young people, which I'll get hold of next week, will have composed their own historical calypso song relating to Bedford and the project that they've had. So on the out of the night, I would like to pass over to Alex the Great.
I'm going to sing my song, They Came Upon the Windrush, which I wrote in 1990 for the 50th anniversary. And remember, Windrush is not about the boat. It's about 500 years of us. Although, in fact, the song is about the people, not the people on the boat, but it's about us in the 20th century. But really encompasses everything. So this is They Came Upon the Windrush. And I make no apology for its the statements I make in it. In May 48, the Empire Windrush set sail from the Caribbean for Britain. 500 on board, coming to seek work, among them ex-RAF servicemen. The fare was only £28.10, but that was a whole heap of money way back then. On the 22nd of June, the ship docked at Tilbury, to the discomfort of the government, led by Clement Attlee. They came upon the wind rushing 48. The flame of hope in their hearts, whatever fate. A few who formed the vanguard came through, although the doors barred. It's true that most found it hard, but survivors always find a way. They are part of the great diaspora to claim our right to be part of what we all are. This land so fit for heroes must hand the laurels to those who stand as history shows, build multicultural Britain today. These were not the first. Thousands came before to put in their bit for democracy. Many of them died doing their duty to ensure that Britain could remain free. In rush, they thought they were British citizens until they felt the iron fists in the velvet mittens. No longer required, citizens soon became immigrants, which Mosley and Power used to fuel ignorance. They came upon the wind rushing 48. The flame of hope in their hearts, whatever fate. A few who formed the vanguard came through, although the doors barred. It's true that most found it hard, but survivors always find a way. They came a part of the great diaspora to claim our right to be part of what we all are. This land so fit for heroes must hand the laurels to those who stand as history shows, build multicultural Britain today. Living was hard all through the 50s. Some people even believed we had tails. Then down the decades, you could read about the riots, the sus laws, school suspensions and jails. But Linton, Bob and Jazzy Soul to Soul could soon we have while we reach our we goal. With high presence now in the media and some black MPs, this next generation is getting there by degrees. They came upon the wind rushing 48. The flame of hope in their hearts, whatever fate. A few who formed the vanguard came through, although the doors barred. It's true that most found it hard, but survivors always find a way. They came a part of the great diaspora to claim our right to be part of what we all are. This land so fit for heroes must hand the laurels to those who stand as those build multicultural Britain today. Plenty years have passed, many things have changed. Some might feel we lead in fashion and sport. But make no mistake, some still find me strange. Plenty battles out there still to be fought. This world we share, it belongs to all of we. We must take care to respect multiplicity. Survivors of Windrush know that in love and war all is fair. This empire has crumbled, only commonwealth left to share. They came upon the wind rushing 48. The flame of hope in their hearts, whatever fate. A few who formed the vanguard came through, although the doors barred. It's true that most found it hard, but survivors always find a way. They came a part of the great diaspora to claim our right to be part of what we are. This land so fit for heroes must hand the laurels toast to those who stand as history shows, built multicultural Britain today. Rush. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Auntie Cynthia, I think we need to book him for the next gathering. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Auntie. Oh, actually, I can make you unmute. Here we go.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. I'd say we need to book him for the next gathering.
Okay, go ahead.
When is your next gathering?
Well,
it's 2022.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, 2022 is fine.
All right. It's going
2
to
years
be
then. It's going to be
March.
2 years you meet.
Every
Of
2
2022.
years. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, we were lucky enough.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, it was just at the beginning of March, wasn't it?
That's
Yeah.
right. Just the week before the shutdown. And then the next one is going to be 2022.
Okay. By which time we hope everything will be, you know.
I hope so.
Thank you very much. I wish everybody a wonderful evening, a great weekend, and I shall see you all on the 8th of December for our presentation night. Thank you.
Well done.
Good night, everybody.